So, deep dive time. And you know those job interviews in English? They can feel a bit like, oh man, walking into a pressure cooker, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, the palms get sweaty. Your brain's like, where'd all those carefully crafted answers go?
Hmm.
And then they hit you with those curveball questions that feel like, are they just trying to make me trip up here?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what we're diving into today. How to take those moments of, uh-oh, and turn them into, yeah, I got this.
I think it makes sense, why these interviews can feel like extra challenging
Yeah.
because you're kind of being judged on two things at once,
Right.
your actual skills, your experience, and then on top of that, how well you're communicating all that in English.
Yeah, it's like a double whammy, isn't it?
Yeah, it
It's
is.
not like, cramming for an exam where you can just memorize stuff.
Mhm.
These are conversations. They're unpredictable.
Right.
And you've got to be ready to think on your feet and adapt.
And sometimes the way we might say something, even just a phrase, in our first language, it doesn't really translate the same way.
Oh, yeah, all those nuances.
Yeah, those cultural differences, they
Yeah.
can trip you up.
Definitely.
It's funny, though. Even native English speakers, people who've spoken it their whole lives, they get pre-interview jitters, too.
Really?
Oh, yeah, I saw this stat. It was like 75%.
Wow.
75% of native English speakers say they get nervous before interviews.
See, so it's normal.
Yeah, you're in good company.
Exactly. So this deep dive, our mission is pretty clear. We want to give you, the listener, some real practical strategies to help you walk into that interview for your dream job in English and just sound polished, articulate, and most importantly, like yourself.
Right.
So let's get to it. First up, we've got what we call the 3 golden rules of interview English. What do you say we start there?
All right, sounds good.
Okay, so golden rule number 1. It's all about structure, how you structure your answers. And this is where this thing called the STAR method, it can be a real game changer.
Yeah, the STAR method. It's like your secret weapon.
It is. Think of it as this framework for telling these really compelling, organized stories about your work experience.
Right.
So you break it down into 4 parts. STAR. First up, S for situation.
Oh, okay.
This is where you set the scene, give a little context,
Yeah.
Like in my last role at, say, X company I was working on.
Right, right. And then you move on to T, which is task.
Exactly. What was your specific responsibility? What goal were you trying to hit within that situation? So something like, I was tasked with leading this project, Project Y, and it had a super tight deadline.
Yeah, and maybe some really key objectives you had to achieve.
For sure. Then we get to the A, action.
Yeah.
This is where you dig into the specifics. Like, so to tackle that, I implemented this Z strategy. I coordinated with 3 different teams, real stuff.
Yeah, streamline the communication, make it all happen.
Exactly. And then the grand finale, the R, the result.
The big payoff.
Yes. And this is where you really want to show the impact. Like, don't just say, it improved things.
Right. Throw in some numbers, like this boosted efficiency by 30%.
Boom. Makes a difference, right?
Yes, makes it memorable. And the beauty of the STAR method, it not only makes your answers clear and easy to follow,
Yeah.
it also shows you're someone who gets things done, results-oriented.
Exactly. It's not just here are my duties. It's look what I achieved.
Exactly. All right, on to golden rule number 2. Buying yourself some thinking time gracefully.
Okay, this is a good one because we've all been there.
Oh, yeah.
When that question comes and your mind just goes, woof.
Blank.
And then we start filling the silence with, like, all those little filler words.
Oh, the dreaded filler words. They
Right.
sneak in, don't they?
Did he do?
So what are some better, smoother ways to handle that, to get those few seconds to think?
So instead of, try something like, that's a great question. Let me think about that for just a second.
Right.
It shows you're really considering it, not just stalling.
Yeah. Or another one, I'd like to approach this from a couple of different angles.
Oh, I like that.
Even if you only end up talking about 1 or 2.
It sets you up.
Yeah, it gives you that structure, makes you sound prepared.
So smart. Because you don't want to sound unsure, right?
Yeah.
You want to sound thoughtful.
Exactly.
Okay, golden rule number 3. This one's kind of subtle, but powerful. Mirroring their language.
Ooh, mirroring. This is a bit more advanced.
It is. Tell me more about it.
So basically, you're listening closely to the words, the terms the interviewer is using,
Okay.
and then you try to use similar language when you answer.
Interesting.
Like if they keep talking about collaborative environment, you might mention your team-oriented approach.
Right. So not mimicking exactly.
Yeah, no.
But finding that common ground in how you express things.
Exactly. It helps build that connection,
Like you're speaking the same language, but on a deeper level.
Right. It creates this rapport.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, and here's a pro tip that ties all these golden rules together.
Yeah.
Record yourself practicing those common interview questions.
Yes.
I know it might feel a little weird at first, like, am I really doing this?
Trust me, it's so helpful.
It is, because you can hear those filler words, those
Mhm.
ums and likes that you might not even notice you're saying.
Exactly.
And you can see, okay, is my answer structured well? Does it flow? You become your own coach.
Right.
Okay, moving on. That part that everyone dreads a little, the tricky questions.
Yeah.
The ones that, like, they're coming.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not enough to just have a vague idea of what you might say.
Nope.
You got to have a game plan.
Right, a strategy.
So let's start with the classic, the one they always ask, tell me about yourself. It sounds so simple, but so many people fumble it.
Right.
What's the key to really nailing that one?
Biggest thing, don't give them your whole life story, like from birth to present.
Right.
They want to know about you professionally, how it relates to this job.
Yeah.
So, good framework. Education, then relevant experience, and then why this role at this company is the right next step for you.
So keep it concise, focused, all about the job.
Yes.
Okay, and now the one that sends shivers down everyone's spine. What's your greatest weakness?
This is where the cliches come out, right?
Oh, yeah, like I work too hard or something.
Right. Or I'm a perfectionist, please.
They've heard it all.
Exactly. Better approach. Pick a real past weakness and then show how you've worked on it, how you've grown.
So like turning it into a positive.
Yes. Showing you're self-aware and you learn from your mistakes.
Can you give an example of how someone might do that?
Sure. Instead of just saying, I'm bad at time management, you could say, I used to struggle with delegating tasks. I'd take on too much. But then I realized that wasn't working, so I started using project management software, really clearly defining roles for my team, and it's made a huge difference. I delegate better, I empower my team more, and things run smoother.
See, that's great. It's honest, but it also highlights your ability to improve. Okay, another big one. Why should we hire you?
Ah, the million-dollar question.
It is. This is your chance to sell yourself, what makes you unique.
Right, your value proposition.
Exactly. So how do you approach that?
It's all about connecting your skills and your experience to what they need, like a formula. My skill and my experience in area are a perfect match for your need for something from the job description.
So do your research on the company, the role.
Absolutely. Know what they're looking for and show them you're the answer.
It's all about showing, not just telling.
Right.
Okay. And don't worry, listener, we've got you covered. We'll have a cheat sheet in the show notes with over 20 common interview questions.
Yes, so you can practice, practice, practice.
Yeah, exactly. Now let's talk about something that's often overlooked, but it's huge. Body language and your voice. That nonverbal stuff.
Oh, it's massive. Some studies say it can make up like 50% of the impression you make.
Wow, 50%.
Yeah. So let's talk about what to do and what not to do.
All right, so what are the do's?
I see.
What should we be doing with our body, our voice?
Okay, so leaning in a little, it shows you're engaged.
Makes sense.
Smiling naturally, especially when you're talking about your successes, it helps you come across as, approachable, likable.
Right, genuine.
And a subtle one, try pausing for a beat before you answer a question. It projects confidence, like you're thinking it through.
Not just blurting out the first thing that comes to mind.
Exactly.
Okay, what about the don'ts? What should we avoid doing?
Crossing your arms, it can make you look defensive, closed off.
Right.
Talking too fast, especially if you're nervous, because it makes it harder to understand you.
Yeah, and it can make you sound, well, more nervous.
Right. And try not to stare blankly when you're thinking. Practice a thinking face, Maybe furrow your brow a little. Nod slightly. It's better than looking lost.
So you want to look confident, engaged, not like a deer in the headlights.
Exactly.
And I know there are cultural differences too, right, with body language.
Well, for sure.
Like eye contact.
Yeah. In the US, UK, good eye contact means you're confident, honest. But in some cultures, it can be seen as aggressive, even rude.
So know your audience. Be sensitive to those differences.
Exactly.
It's about more than just the words.
Absolutely.
Okay, so to help you really put all this into practice, we've got a challenge for you, listener. We're calling it the Mock Interview Challenge.
Yes.
So pick at least 3 questions from that cheat sheet we mentioned earlier, the one with all those common interview questions.
Yes, and here comes the part that might feel a little awkward, but trust us, it's worth it.
Get ready.
Record yourself answering those questions on video.
Yes. Now, watching yourself back might feel a little cringy. We get it.
But it's the best way to see how you're really doing.
Yeah, it's like having a coach right there with you.
Right.
So watch those recordings, take notes. How clear was your English? Did you sound confident? Were your answers concise? It's all about self-awareness.
Exactly. And if you're feeling really brave, try swapping mock interviews with a friend who's also prepping for English interviews.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, or even a native English speaker who can give you some feedback.
Getting that outside perspective can be so helpful.
It can.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, let's remember the big picture here. Interviews, even in English, are about connecting with the interviewer, not about speaking perfect English.
Right. They want to see your skills, your experience, your passion.
Yeah, they invited you for a reason.
Exactly. They saw something in your application.
So don't psych yourself out, remember that.
And here's a final thought to boost your confidence. You weren't invited to that interview because they doubted you. You're there because they're interested.
That's such a good point. It reframes the whole thing.
Yeah, it's an opportunity, not a test.
Exactly. And speaking of opportunities, just a heads up, our next deep dive, we're going to tackle how to network professionally in English without feeling awkward. So make sure you join us for that.
It's going to be good.
It is. All right, until next time, keep practicing, keep learning, and keep diving deep.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.